If you have an investment decision and say, here we can ruin the earth and it will give you 10% interest, and here we will keep your earth clean and you get 5% interest, people will make the most rational decision.
There are other cooperatives who use a lot of energy and maybe could join us to make it even stronger.
If there's any similar interests, maybe just a quick raise of hands.
Did someone Twitter during the generals?
Not paying attention.
But anyway, you might be right.
I think we need really think forward about a REScoop holding structure that can really host this kind of big projects that will serve the REScoops all over Europe, and stop thinking on local and regional level, start thinking on a higher level of collaboration.
We will establish the membership fees as follows. For starting small cooperatives, it's 100. For established medium cooperatives, 1,000. Very established big cooperatives, 5,000. For associate members, a minimum of 100. Who agrees?
And who's against? No. Okay.
I could not see it anywhere. My thinking was, since I was a student in nature and environmental issues, I learned in the 70s the climate problem. And this house makes both what we need. One is no emission. And the second point is the wood is stored carbon from the atmosphere. The grass roof the same. This cogeneration runs with pure vegetable oil. Sunflower, rapeseed oil, not intensive agriculture. So under the sun, I have 150% house with energy. I sell the electricity to the grid completely, and so I get it back when I need electricity. And my heating and my cars are all 100% renewables. But I had a lot of struggle that the rooftops would be allowed. There is a local law that all rooftops must be red. A grass is not red. So I have to fight. Some people now tell you are one of the hobbits. You are living under the ground. I love it.
Per puro caso ci è andata bene, l'8 agosto si è messo a piovere e abbiamo salvato in extremis una situazione. Questo per dirvi che la fragilità dei sistemi ecologici di fronte agli eccessi meteorologici fa sì che per desertificare un luogo non servono i millenni o le ere geologiche. Basta avere una sequenza di 4-5 anni con estati come quella del 2003 o come questa. Manca un temporale, manca una pioggia al momento giusto, in una settimana fai fuori tutto. E qui di colpo andiamo a finire poi al formaggio, andiamo a finire a qualsiasi alta produzione alimentare, creiamo semplicemente un nuovo clima. E quello che era il clima dell'Appennino ligure, piemontese, emiliano diventa il clima dell'Africa, diventa il clima dell'Atlante marocchino. C'è una barriera antropologica che è quella dovuta al fatto che l'uomo comunque è un predatore.
In Poland we had in August very strong storms which created a lot of losses within the forest and also created some casualties. And this extreme events was rare in Poland, but the number of such events increases in time and over the area of Central Europe. The increasing number of events is a clear proof that the climate is changing.
I was in Paris for COP21 and to see Naomi Klein talk in one of the sort of fringe events. And I thought her whole narrative was really, really unhelpful. You know, it was really great that she's brought climate change to a wider audience, but she's basically saying, you know, oh, it's them, it's the corporates, they're the problem, you know. And it's, well, hang on a minute, it's not like that, because actually, you know, your father works in a corporate, your brother works. Every time I put petrol in this car, I'm supporting the corporates. They're doing the stuff that I don't want to see anymore. This isn't us and them, this is us. Look at all these cars driving past. We're all doing this together, you know.
We should be able to own and control in a democratic way our energy. Energy is at the heart of economic activity, it's the heart of democratic activity, it's the heart of control, it's the heart not just of human life, but of the organisation of society as well.
It's a play of power. 6 years ago, we met a lot of resistance. Cooperatives were unprofessional, and yes, we will do some financial participation. You can have some bonds, but building your own wind turbines, that's out of the question. You're amateurs.
The fossil industry was pretty well organized themselves in different sectors.
Nuclear and fossil is highly subsidized. Taxpayers pay a lot of money to support this polluting. Alone Germany spends today in this year 3.2 billion euros for subsidizing the coal industry. Crazy.
Fossil fuels potentially creating another bubble like subprime and the whole financial crash in the coming years. If we're going to stick to our climate targets, only 20% of the known reserves of fossil fuels can be burned. The rest has to stay in the ground. Now, the value of the stock markets is based upon the value of fossil fuel companies. Fossil fuel companies are valued on their reserves, which they can't burn. So we're going to have this moment where suddenly the world wakes up to that and goes, oh my God. We had committees from all over Europe coming, and we were standing in one of the fortresses outside Copenhagen, and there was a Polish leader, a chairman of a committee in your parliament. And I told him, what do you think about this? People of Copenhagen, they have put a lot of money and they are controlling the wind turbines. And he said, this will never happen in Poland because the Polish citizens, they don't know how to do it. And if you have this kind of attitude from your politicians, my God.
There is another kind of energy that cannot be measured, cannot be evaluated quantitatively, and it is the energy of a human being.
There was a massive flood in the summer of 2007 here in Oxford. That was a trigger point. People started to say, right, we can't just rely on government or someone else to sort this out. We have to do something about climate change. It was just an island. There was nothing there, just a bit of grass, an old tree. The building to the other side belongs to the Environment Agency. They are buying the electricity generated here. It took 15 years to making it work.
Good one, man.
I know, it's done.
Congratulations. Well done.
That's amazing. We closed today, actually. We had the call with the bank.
Very good news.
So it's all done.
Yeah.
Money transferred.
So party time.
Yeah.
The objective has always been, how can we power up, how can we generate our own energy, and how can we power down? How can we become more efficient?
Well, we're just chucking around.
There's no such a thing.
I'm an engineer by training, and I have been working with multinational corporations for 20 years. And then one day there was this realization. Here I am driving an enormous oil tanker, and in my spare time I jump on a tiny little boat and paddling along trying to change the course of this massive tanker. It's not going to happen. You know, if I carry on with my day-to-day job where I'm flying all over the world, working for these big corporations that the only thing they seem to care is about making money. Who am I kidding? Am I a big hypocrite that I think that the 2 hours a week that I do as a volunteer putting solar panels on the roof of the local school is going to make any difference? No, it's not.
Humans are very good in not responding on huge problems. If you have to think about oceans rising, everything's turning to shit, then you won't even come out of bed.
Het kost ons 12 tot 18 miljard per jaar om naar windenergie en andere vormen over te gaan.
The whole energy system now is decided in small boardrooms, same as it has with political power. I don't see why economical power should all of a sudden be an autocracy.
Tot het water nog hoger komt en dat we nog veel meer miljarden nodig hebben om de dijken nog een keer hoger te maken, kunnen we natuurlijk ook proberen dat voor te zijn en die miljarden nu uit te geven, waardoor dat niet ontstaat.
My main goal isn't to stop climate change. My main goal is to get the power back into our own hands. Shell can stop climate change. Any big company can stop climate change, as long as we pay them enough.
For every Belgian inhabitant, 2,000 euros a year flows out of the Belgian country, out of our economy. You should put above it, this is not an energy transition. They want to restore their power. They're the dinosaurs and we're the little mammals around their feet, too small to eat. But we are many. We are many.
What I see is that energy cooperatives, it's a special group or social class, I would say, that is profiting and that's empowered by cooperatives mostly.
We are there, we are growing. That brings a lot of anxiety, both in the public sector as in the commercial sector.
It's not really people who are poor people, but it's well-off people, academics, mostly people who would maybe elect the Green Party.
We have no bank loans on long term. Other companies, they say 50 million euro capital, you can go to the banks and get another 300 or something. Yeah, we don't do it.
Energy is about billions of euros. The oligopolies created a pressure group around 2011, 12, 13, which was called the Magritte Group, because they met in a museum in Brussels, which is dedicated to this great Belgian surrealistic painter, René Magritte. And they met in that meeting to destroy progressive lawmaking in Europe on renewables, on energy efficiency and on climate change. They had a very skilled lobby technique. They go around the expertise in ministries of environment and ministries of energy and directly try to lock prime ministers into their lobby arguments.
They burn this fuel to make us happy as consumers. We are on the end of this chain. Also make business on it and we feel very comfortable with it.
It's an old tradition in Denmark that if you have two Danes leave Copenhagen Central Station and take the S train, before they reach the end station in the suburbs, that's 30 kilometers, they'll have established a cooperative.
Cooperative energy, community energy was the sector that was nearly taken off. It never quite got there. It was always next year we're ready to go. And then 5 years ago, boom, suddenly every town, every city in the UK had a community energy group. And the government, which up to then had actually been really quite supportive, went, whoa, hang on a minute, we didn't think you'd actually deliver on what you were targeting. We're going to pull a few rugs from under your feet. Not one, not two, maybe 3 or 4. We need you to slow down. All those incentives that exist, they're gone. And in fact, we might put a few planning restrictions in place as well, just to make sure we slow the thing down fast enough.
We're living in a time of crisis. There's going to be a market for the supply, for the balance. There's going to be a market for the demand side, for energy savings. If a market functions, there's people making profit, companies making profit. So who pays? The consumer. If a market doesn't function, it needs subsidies. So who pays? The citizen. And I believe that we need to move beyond the solution of the market.
The cooperatives already invented this.
It is loving. You understand? It's you are different, I am different. If I'm a fascist, what you say doesn't matter, because I know better. This is not true. We don't know better. Nobody knows better. That's the idea of the cooperative. You know something, and I know something, and a third person knows something, and we come together and...
Eureka! This is how they got the idea to make the island energy independent. They immediately called their neighbours to share the idea. As a result, they created a REScoops, a citizens' renewable energy cooperative.
I think it's a tool that we can use that will help us all become energy autonomous from RES.
Słowo spółdzielczość, spółdzielnia obecnie jest traktowane jako jakaś pozostałość, jako taki dinozaur z okresu socjalizmu w Polsce. Jest to oczywiście nieprawda. Niektórzy mówią, że spółdzielnie są stare jak ludzkość. Na ziemiach polskich pierwsza organizacja typu spółdzielczego powstała już 200 lat temu. Było to założone przez księdza Stanisława Staszica, Hrubieszowskie Towarzystwo Rolnicze ratowania się wzajemnie w nieszczęściach. Tuż przed wojną szacuje się, że co 5. Polak był członkiem jakiejś spółdzielni.
In Greece, consumer cooperatives and agricultural cooperatives were relatively well known, but civil cooperatives specializing in energy was unheard of. It took us about a year until the cooperative was legally set up because we found obstacles at every step of the way. We had to talk to the court to give a permission, and then we had to talk to the Chamber of Commerce, and they had to contact the Ministry of Economy in order to decide which code does this, let's say, occupation or activity falls under.
Po II wojnie światowej mieliśmy do czynienia z 3 wielkimi procesami centralizacji, biurokratyzacji i monopolizacji dziedzin życia społecznego przez spółdzielnie. To oczywiście były procesy narzucone przez władze partyjno-państwowe, natomiast skutek był taki, że spółdzielnie traktowane były jako ramię państwa. Stały się aparatem czasami wręcz przemocy państwowej, tak jak w latach kolektywizacji, kiedy na siłę tworzono rolnicze spółdzielnie produkcyjne na wzór sowieckich kołchozów na wsi. I niestety ta świadomość utrzymała się aż do dzisiaj.
I founded the first solar cooperative in the world in 1994. It is one of 7 photovoltaics. It is the biggest one. It was a sensation. 3 kilowatt. How could it happen?
More than 800 energy co-ops have been set up in the last 10 years in Germany. More than 160,000 people are members.
We had a treaty with our local utility for 20 years feed-in tariff. Utility could cancel it when the Bavarian government would not allow to give this feed-in tariff. But the people gave us this money, 200,000 Deutsche Mark, 100,000 euros, and they gave the allowance 3 years later, and then it was clear. After this, we could fight about this.
They were angry, weren't they? People were wanting to make a change and
didn't trust politicians,
No.
completely lost trust in politicians. They just, I mean, it was an act of desperation
Absolutely,
setting up this shop.
absolutely.
This is relevant for community energy now because it's like the determination they had. This only happens now if you have that type of determination.
The Rochdale pioneers set up that first co-op shop back in 1844. I mean, when they set up that first shop, the things they were fighting against were unbelievable. It wasn't just that women didn't have the vote back then, working class men didn't have the vote in England. Food was routinely adulterated. People used to put sulfuric acid in beer to give it a head. People used to put chalk in flour. People used to put hedge clippings in tea. So these people set up the first stop, owned and operated by normal people and serving clean food at fair prices.
Do you remember what I said about 20 years after this shop, you've got 350 shops all over the United Kingdom with what, 100,000 members?
Yeah.
We've now got 1 billion people who are a member of co-ops across the world. There's 2.5 million co-ops across the world. They employ 250 million people. We've got co-ops running everything from Barcelona Football Club right through to, if you like, Champagne.
Together with my wife, we wanted to look another place to live. We found very nice 200 years old ruin near Girona. In my country, in the Netherlands, everybody has electricity, and if you don't have it, the regional distributor connects you because it's something considered as a public common right. Spain is different. Distributor is a private company. There are about 300 of them, and the distributing company says, sure, you can have electricity. If you pay me, in our case, 80,000 euros, we will happily connect you to the grid. What? We finally solved the situation with solar panels, and I wanted to do something more. At that time, I was teaching at the local university, economics, and telling my students, who wants to join? We just sent an email to all our friends, asked them to send emails to all their friends. The only thing we offer them is become a member, pay €100 in our social capital, and we're going to offer you the possibility to invest, and we're going to offer you the possibility to consume your electricity through the cooperative. And then once you're in, we try to keep it as human as possible.
A SOM fez isso sem alterar nada na lei. Eu acho que o transporte devia ser descontado. Ou seja, depende do transporte.
E nós fomos visitar algumas daquelas cooperativas que ali estão. Tivemos uma conversa com uma que aparentemente é das mais estruturadas de todas. E eles não têm de pagar transporte se produzirem dentro da rede deles.
In this world, capitalist, market-driven, whatever you want to call it, one of our biggest individual powers that is left for us is how you consume. So where you are going to consume, who are you consuming from, what you are consuming. And cooperatives do that. They allow you to consume in a responsible way, in an ethical way, or not, but you can try to do it.
The sense of a cooperative is to identify a problem which you can't solve by yourself, and you do it together. Very simple. One man, one vote.
Olha, hoje, sabe, isso é uma coisa que podia ser uma peça, pá, 30 segundos. Hoje está a haver uma reunião dos sócios de uma cooperativa de energia aqui, ao contrário da EDP, as pessoas podem decidir que preço é que querem pôr na energia ou como é que querem comprá-la.
I am the Fidel Castro of Portuguese cooperatives.
Cooperatives do it in this kind of social model where they go to an institution of the first sector, kindergarten or a hospital or a mental illness project, and they will use the unused space that they have on their roofs, then sell energy.
People are looking for alternative ways to use their money and to know that they use money for good. And that's kind of what we provide. We got one project of 50,000 euros and we funded it in 1 week. And then we thought, wow, this is really fast, 50,000 euros, 1 week, great result. Next project, 50,000 euros, funded in 4 hours. This is impressive, we're never going to do this again. Last September, we sent out a new project, 100,000 euros, and it got funded in 8 minutes.
I always get excited after these meetings because you can kind of see the drive of people, why they are here and why they are motivated. I'm gonna get the job at the biggest supplier of energy in Portugal, so it's the biggest adversary of Copernic, if one might say. Maybe take some experiences out of it to maybe someday make some change. And if what we have is not perfect, that's what we need to do for now. Yeah.
Bueno, ja parlem cada vegada que ens reunim, però que no havia recollit les teves opinions concretes.
Sí.
Quines quantitats els semblarien justes amb el coneixement de la rècord cooperativa que tenien, mensual, anual? Jo repeteixo, que això són 12 pagues, que són 35 hores.
Parcialment potser és de cultura. A Holanda, quan treballes 36 hores, treballes 36 hores. No és 36 hores menys 5 pauses de cafè, de no sé què. Són 36 hores. Anar a 35, menys les pauses de cafè, ja arribes a 32, 33 hores de feina efectiva. Aquí tocava, no sé, habitualment 28, i aquí com a tècnic tindràs 30, doncs quedes amb el 30. Tu fas coses que jo tampoc no sé fer, i jo em trobo còmode fent el que estic fent, i no vull res més, vull fer el que m'agrada. Si em deixeu fer així, tots estarem contents.
Que si algú no... O sigui, si la resta de companys per lo que sigui el valoren molt negativament...
Fa jocs per internet i respon al telèfon amb la mínima interès, casos extrems. Ja no hi ha cap manera que funcioni a dins de l'equip, és fora.
I first tried to set up an energy cooperative in Brighton in about 1990, but people just thought I was a complete loony.
I was working for a big construction company. Very hard work, and my wife said, this job is not good for you. It's going to kill you. And she said, I'm going to leave you if you don't leave this job. It was the best thing that I ever did. People in Lewis started to get together. One of those meetings was around energy.
And we saw an opportunity from the local council to try and run a grant scheme for them to distribute money to build renewable energy around the town. I set up a company and got them to be directors with me to win this bid. And then we set off distributing it was about £500,000 worth of grants.
Might be more, mostly for solar thermal, some for wood burning stoves, some for, I think, a little
Ground
bit went
source heat
pump,
pumps,
tiny little
insulation.
bit went to, it was very successful.
And with the profits that we made, we started to look at how we would build local generation.
I'm quite proud of our team that we could tell every day about how we've helped somebody in our community. This is my dream. I want to create a microgrid, take ownership of our microgrid with all of our own generation between our generation and the energy savings that we're doing in the buildings, so that we have real control over our own energy supply.
We're thinking about getting involved in saving energy and saving carbon, but you've then got to think about that's got to make people save money. Otherwise, they're not interested.
Somehow money's become a bad thing. Money's fine. But if I said, I'm doing this all for you, guys can do whatever you want. Here's some money, here's a project. They don't take care of it. You have no incentive to do that.
2.5 weeks, no rain.
There's 2.4 billion passenger journeys a year on this train. 2.4 billion. London uses 4 to 6% of all the energy generated in the UK. Huge consumers of fossil fuel.
The next train to arrive at platform 1 is the 1854 London Overground, service to Clapham Junction, calling at Kensal Rise, Wilston Junction, Shepherd's Bush, Kensington Olympia, West Brom.
Now they can realize that the energy that's running those trains is renewable energy, that the money that comes to pay for those panels is cooperatively owned, and that any revenue that's generated from the sale of that energy goes back to build these gardens, and it's their money. They want to invest in it. Now there's 40 gardens across the overground. Look at that. This is what's happening right now. And in other gardens, we're a network. We're one community across all of London. Next year, we should see 5 to 10 coming on annually. We're going to do a cooperative share offer.
You have to find businesses who think a bit like you. Organic farming, a school, your brewery. The dog's friendly. A big supermarket perhaps isn't the right kind of place. They'll probably do this themselves. The feed-in tariff for every kilowatt hour that you generate, you will be given a guaranteed amount of money on top of what you can sell. We offered a share issue for our first project at Harvey's Brewery, which gave an interest each year of 4%. 500,000 kilowatt hours. This has saved Harvey's Brewery maybe £45,000, more than 50,000 euros in electricity costs.
This is a 12 kilowatt array. There's already some soiling from the seagulls. It affects the performance ever so slightly, but we don't want anything to prevent them from generating the electricity that we need for this building. So we'll have to send somebody up to clean these right away.
Oh, okay, cool, thank you. All right, and, projects.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've actually got 15 leases.
15.
15 leases.
15. No, 1 5. 15.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He saves £800.
Oh, he saves £800, and on top of that, he's already paying back the lease as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant. See, I told you. But it takes a long time. That's another thing with all of these things, because buildings, people think about them last. It's like the last thing on the agenda, for computer breaks. You need it to work. You carry on. I mean, if there's water pouring through the ceiling, you do something about it. But if it's just your energy bill, you kind of think, oh, come to that.
And most people just, climate change, yeah, well, the politicians need to solve it, someone else needs to solve it. This is flipping it on its head, This will power nearly a quarter of our town of 12,000 people, just that one rig. And this stuff will happen. If climate change is not solvable, then we're basically saying goodbye humanity, goodbye biosphere. When you factor there's now a few thousand of these around the UK, that's a big chunk of cash. You have one big power station in the middle that has a huge debt on it, and we all pay for that debt. That's the current model. The model we're talking about is a distributed one where there's power stations all over the place, and there's demand management and there's storage all embedded within the networks we're using. A bit more like the internet.
Renewable energy, it's something more intelligent. It's not just technical aspect. In Western Balkan, there is so much wind potential, solar potential, hydro, biomass, and so far it is like a mafia connected with government, connected with foreign investors, making untransparent scheme, which doesn't allow normal people to invest.
I wouldn't say that there is more than 10 or 15% of Greek citizens who are worried about how their energy is produced. There is a little ship bringing the diesel coming every 2-3 weeks. It fills up the tanks of the public power company plant. If that plant, for whatever reason, does not have oil in its tanks, then this island doesn't have electricity.
In the 70s, the Arabs switched off all export of oil and gas to the Danish society. We were playing football in the street, in highways. We don't like nuclear power in Denmark, so...
This change comes from three elements: refurbishment of houses, use of waste heat from power plants, and wind turbines stopping condensing power plants.
In some days, we have more than 100% wind production compared to the consumption of electricity.
Only the fuel consumed for electricity production in the Sifnos Island has an annual cost at the range of 4,500,000 euros.
A few years ago, the public power company, which through the opening of the market is not public anymore, made some plans to install wind turbines in the northern part of the island. And then they started measuring, and the reaction of the people was over our dead bodies. Did they ask us? Why do we need to ask you? Because we live here, because you are going to do something in our land. So, no. And they were very quick to form a society that plead to the high courts of Greece, and they succeeded.
Life is simple. The people here have the community. Twice a week, all the year, they have the panegyria, the religious festivities. We meet and talk, eat chick beans. I'm not a native, so for me this is a way to show my gratitude to these people who accepted me here. And I think that I owe them. And there is a harmony everywhere. Look there, this place. And this village and everything, there is a harmony. Perfect.
There's the wasteland there, and that's why we picked this area, because it does not interfere with the touristic activity of the island.
Achieving autonomy on an island means producing 100% of the energy needed from renewables, but also storing it. If we were to use batteries, we would have to replace them every 10 years or so, which means, again, exporting money. What do we have? We have the sea. We will make the lake, which will be our storage facility, and we will pump up the water to the lake with the energy produced from the wind turbines. If the wind is not sufficient, then for producing energy, we will drain the water from the lake down to the sea through the hydro turbines. The place is ideal because of the very steep incline, which gives a lot of power due to the kinetic energy of the water coming down. It gives a lot of power to the hydro turbines.
Actually, we didn't talk at all. We just knew each other. It didn't happen. Now we see that we all have many things in common.
Ναι.
Είναι να ματιάσει στη μέση. Ναι, αυτό είναι ποταμιά, δεν είχε κάνει.
Ναι, αλλά δεν μπορείς να κάνεις κάτι πάνω στην ποταμιά γιατί θα σου κατεβάσει το νερό.
Και ο δρόμος, γιατί τώρα αυτά που λέμε, αυτές οι ιδιοκτησίες, να δούμε τη χαράκια που βλέπουμε, έτσι. The location is perfect. We believe.
If we combine knowledge from the electricity side, from the thermal side, and from the gas side into one system, then we're able to do it in a way where it will not be too costly.
Biogasification system is something new. It has never been developed in Denmark before, a system like this. And even though people knew that maybe this could be a failure, they invested a lot of money, 1.5 million euros, and then we got a big grant from the government to develop the system.
If you look, if before you have fire in the wood, you have a kind of explosion. You know, the boo, it says, and it's gas.
We started to produce heat for approximately 700 households, and for 300 to 400 households electricity. But we can develop the system by having several distinct systems beside each other, so we can add the system up to 10,000 inhabitants in a village, for example.
Κανονικά η χρηματοδότηση του έργου κανονικά πρέπει να γίνεται από τα μέλη του συνεταιρισμού, από τους συνεταιριστές. Από αυτούς θα έπρεπε να γίνεται η χρηματοδότηση του έργου. Ναι. Και μας λείπει ένα 20% και παίρνουμε και ένα δάνειο, για παράδειγμα. Έτσι θα ήταν κανονικά. Ναι, ναι. Αλλά όταν μιλάμε για έργα τα οποία είναι 37-38 εκατομμυρίων ευρώ, σε μικρές κοινωνίες, αυτό σαφώς είναι δύσκολο.
Firstly, the application for the issuance power production license should be submitted in the Regulatory Authority of Energy.
Μένος είναι ο φάκελος η ΡΑΕ, γιατί δεν θέλει το 100% η ΡΑΕ. Στο 100% ένα ποσοστό ζητάει.
Όχι, το έχουμε συζητήσει πάρα πολύ αυτό.
Από την πρώτη φάση ζητάει
100%. Δεν το κοιτάει το φάκελο.
Οκ.
Κάντε το newsletter και στείλτε το.
Αυτό είπαμε ότι δεν το κάνουμε αυτό.
Αυτό γιατί εάν αρχίσουμε να ζητάμε λεφτά για κάθε τι, έτσι θα το δει ο καθένας όπως το έκαφρασα εγώ τώρα, είναι πάρα πολύ λογικό. Παιδιά, αυτή τη στιγμή έχουμε αυτή την ανάγκη. Είναι ώρα να βάλετε και άλλες μερίδες για να μπορέσει ο συνεταιρισμός να κάνει αυτή την κίνηση. Και σας προειδεάζουμε ότι μόλις βγει η άδεια παραγωγής σας ξαναζητηθεί για να μπορέσουν να βγουν και άλλα έξοδα.
Το λογικό που είναι το παράλογο.
Μπράβο. Αυτό δεν υπάρχει περίπτωση να βοηθήσει στην αύξηση των μελών.
By objecting to this proposal by the public power company, people had created a momentum against renewable energy sources. So far we have over 120 members. We took in trying to minimize or reduce the use of plastic bags on the island.
Nearly everyone now has a bag to put on his groceries. It's far away from their understanding that a small group of people can generate the energy they need for the island.
Δηλαδή έχουμε μετρήσει μέχρι τώρα μετά από μια περίοδο 9 μηνών 9,7 μέτρα το δευτερόλεπτο. Αυτή είναι από τις μεγαλύτερες ταχύτητες που έχουμε μετρήσει. Ενδεικτικά να σας πω μόνο ότι ας πούμε στη Δυτική Ευρώπη, στη Κεντρική Ευρώπη, αιωλικά πάρκα καθίσατε σε περιοχές με μέσες ετήσιες τιμές ταχύτητας ανέμου της τάξης των 5 με 6 μέτρων το δευτερόλεπτο. The results of the 30 final years measuring indicate that Greece should be placed among the richest countries in the world regarding the available primary energy sources.
Wind, if we have to start from zero, it's at least 5 years. We have to start from zero also with several projects. We know that if we start with a solar project right now, we have the land and there is the possibility to connect. We can have it in a year and a half max. It's a completely different ball game. Electricity is a really strange product. I've been working in several sectors in my life and I've never worked in such a strange sector. We're selling it, but we don't produce the majority of it. We never touch it. We have no influence over its quality. If you have electricity, that's fine, but it's not due to us. And if you don't have it, well, it's also not due to us. It's weird. Si queremos hacer los proyectos, tenemos que cerrar ese precio
¿Pero durante cuánto tiempo lo cierran?
per 15 años. Si no, los bancos no financian.
Los bancos quieren el compromiso de que va a haber una entrada.
Sí. La gente que tiene esos terrenos ahora mismo, ¿cuándo pagan?
Eso no llega a 3.000 euros la hectárea no le da.
No,
mucho menos.
Spain is a country of big business, big construction firms building roads going nowhere, building airports without use. A small clique of people, especially, they made a plan with provision of about 5 to 10% increase in electricity consumption forever and ever, which didn't happen. I think for many people, they don't want to be obliged like a kind of oranges that are to be squeezed anytime the business wants to earn more.
In France, if you want to have a good position in administration or in university or more or less everywhere, you have to be pro-nuclear. 95% of the members of parliament are pro-nuclear. And if you are anti-nuclear or critical of nuclear, you are a traitor. They have no the feeling of a human the human, the fact that people want to live in normal condition and not with this possibility of having a major accident.
The energy poverty in France, it concerns about 1/6 of the population, so it's about 12 million people. It's enormous. The government implements some programs, but not all of the poor people, and certainly the poorest, cannot afford them.
Et donc sur ce projet énergie solidaire, cette idée novatrice de proposer un micro-don sur facture d'énergie aux clients d'Enercop, de sorte à récolter quelques centimes, quelques euros, tout ça abondé dans une enveloppe commune pour financer des actions de lutte contre la précarité énergétique au niveau local, des ménages, sur l'ensemble du territoire français.
We decided a nuclear phase out law.
Empower citizens, or don't you? The empowering process is through profits. Because if you eliminate this element, so the question would be, is there still empowering thing there?
Municipalities come to us with the people who have problems paying their bills, because we're the cheapest provider for them. 30,000 of our members only have one share of 250 euros.
Let's be aware of the familiar left trap of the false dichotomy and not get too sucked into it, because that paralyzes us to make interventions, right, against the bigger enemies that we share.
In 2012, the government said, that's enough. They cut all the feed-in tariffs. We couldn't promise any return, because the only price we could compare with, not having a feed-in tariff, was the market price. And the market price goes up and it goes down. And we said to our members, help us with the finance. We cannot promise you a financial return, but we can promise you an energy return. Every Sunday in the evening, I see that there are many people online and we have a peak in new contracts. Why? Because Sunday is the day here in Spain that people have family and friends dinners. They talk. To get to 100% in 5 years, I don't think we're going to make it there. I don't think we're going to make it. 20% of our members want to invest. And average investment up to now has been 3,000 euros. We grow with about 5,000 members a year. So we have a current base of 28,000. So you get to 17 million euros. And this is all risk capital. If we could continue growing with 5,000 members, then we would grow with around 6 million euros a year. And then we're not too far away from where we have to get. We're not so far away.
We started the Totnes Renewable Energy Society in 2007, and our first project was an ambitious project for 2.3 megawatt wind turbines. The work on this application cost the developer something in the region of £400,000 to prepare this. This is a result of a lot of surveys. This is, with all the comments received and all the events that we've had and all the publicity material we put out is all in there. Historical features, archaeological appraisal, and the ecology assessment is this. That's just on the ecology. And here we have the noise impact assessment, the landscape and visual impact assessment, and so on. And in the end, it didn't really matter because they'd already decided that they wanted to stop it, that it wasn't going to go through, and they were just looking for an excuse. They said this is causing substantial harm to the view from the church, and it was on the basis of that it was rejected by the local authority.
There's a lot of discussion still around turbines. Well, you can put everyone not in my backyard because, well, I don't like it and I see that there comes some alien element in the atmosphere of the people. Either they pray to it, it's
the solution for the next generations, or it's the devil.
Basically, the problem is we're throwing away a massive amount of food waste, something like 1 million tons from the restaurants and the cafes. When we start to look at co-digesting food waste and manure, you start to see higher biogas yield. The biogas is a mixture of methane and carbon dioxide, and the methane has a very high energy density, and you can burn it.
All the nutrients in that food waste, the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, gets returned to the soil through the digestate. And it's returned to the soil in an organic format that's readily taken up by the plants, so it saves the farmers a fertilizer bill, which is a very large part of any farming operation these days.
I was called by a local cooperative and they said, we're going to quit as a board. We have some contracts for project developers that we can't promote. Our members don't want to invest. Do you want to buy the project? I said, it's against our principles to take over energy cooperatives. It needs to have a local connection. We would like to have the organization still exist. And then we offered to take over the board for the while and renegotiate the contracts. We bought a wind turbine that luckily was left over from a different park, and we managed to build it within half a year.
We have much more quality than, for example, Shell. We have people not big by advertisement and what a company does that you need experts, but a just member. So we just asked them how to bargain with the landowners. They know the law, they know exactly what the judges say, they know the prices. We do not pay for them because they're a member. We're best informed. So this is my turbine.
We built one wind turbine and we expected them to put 100,000 euros in because they were so small, and we would cover the rest. Once the project was up, like the membership grew, and within 4 months they invested 500,000. So that's a sleeping, the sleeping giant before the meter. And once we were able to wake them up, these are millions in Europe. Eh?
Dus in plaats van 50 euro krijgt u al 90 euro. Maar we willen die boel niet opdoeken, we willen doorgaan met uw project.
We discovered that we had so much oil and gas in the North Sea that we are self-sufficient and have been self-sufficient for many years. The Parliament almost unanimously said, okay, we want to change the society so we are ready when we have the situation where we don't have oil and gas from the North Sea.
Middelgrunden er 20 vindmøller, der ligger ude i Øresund, og da vi startede med projektet for 20 år siden, så bankede vi på døren hos Københavns Belysningsvæsen og spurgte, om det ikke var sådan, de kunne tænke sig nogle vindmøller ude i Øresund. Og direktøren for Københavns Belysning sagde, Gud fader bevare mig vel. Kommer I som borgere her og vil fortælle os, at I vil opstille nogle vindmøller? Det bliver over mit liv, sagde han. Så måtte vi gå til det politiske niveau, og gudskelov vil jeg sige, så fik vi støtte fra rådhuset som sådan.
We made an agreement with the Copenhagen Utility Company. We started the planning, and we had a hearing process at the city town hall. A man from the energy agency was presenting
Depending on how much trade I do with that co-op. That food co-op that does funerals and childcare and travel and holidays.
We then wanted to take that further, saying to any community group, if you generate electricity, we will buy it from you at a fair price.
We could give them a power purchase agreement that in the expression was bankable, so they could go to the bank and say, Copenhagen Energy will buy our energy for the next 10 years, and on the back of that they could get the funding to put the wind farm together or whatever.
I'll offer 2 options for 12 months. One, just a flat rate for the whole 12 months, or a summer-winter split, which I don't have on me, but I can work it out, and it'll be probably about 54 and then 50 or something like that in the summer. Yeah.
My guess is that will appeal to him more, but
yeah. It's the hardest part is trying to find that balance between profit and fairness as well. Yeah. And that's what you're always up against. And it's a constant, you're never going to get there, and that's going to be it. It's always going to change because the goalposts are always moving. Whereas before, in previous job, it was always just make as much margin as you can.
When I was at Big Six before, you had a big team of lobbying people. They fed into the monster. Lobbying is a lot more efficient within the cooperative because we've got one guy works 2 days a week, but because it's all connected through the coalitions and co-ops. And I'm at the co-op party conference at the weekend, and again that does the same because it's a mix of MPs from Labour and Tory and so on, so there's no kind of single point.
Having a dream that working people who believe in our values could be sitting on those green benches and those red benches in there. 100 years on, the Cooperative Party is Britain's 3rd largest political party.
It's why I hope too to convince you of the case for a windfall tax on the big energy firms to fund a community energy revolution. If America and Germany can have enough renewable energy cooperatives to keep the big energy players in their countries in check, we can certainly manage that too here as well.
We try to make sure we fund lobbying of politicians of all parties, because without the lobbying, we won't get what we need. In England, the one organisation the politicians are scared of is called the Women's Institute, which is a very middle-class, aged woman thing, but they are so powerful and they are so big, because when they get angry and they start shouting at politicians, the politicians take it. So moving the Women's Institute into this space has been much more useful than moving Friends of the Earth. Moving the Church of England into this space is much more useful than Greenpeace. They're doing it for community empowerment, not just for renewable energy.
Dong Energy is owned by the state. That's all of us. So for 2 years ago, they sold some shares, 18% of the shares, to Goldman Sachs. And it was a big mess in the Danish society. People were demonstrating in the streets. Present government made a McKinsey report telling us that maybe we should sell our energy system to somebody else. And this is just hitting you in the heart of the Dane. To sell common value to somebody who has the value of having profit out of it.
In the UK, 99% of all energy came from just 6 businesses that come from all over Europe. Now they have lost about 20% market share because Co-op Energy and other have gone in and ate their supply base. Looked at it, we've done a few searches on the internet. That's about the sum of what we've done on storage. We're trying to learn demand management, but if there's expertise on storage, we'd love to see what other people are doing.
Maybe we should
go
write the project.
Yeah.
Det jo næsten ikke til at se, at I anvender gamle vindmølleteknologi.
Tak skal du.
Der er jo ingen tvivl om, at vores vindmøller, de kan sættes lige til vidt omkring. Selv svenskerne kan se møllerne. Happy birthday, dear vindmøller. Happy birthday to you.
normally we are not rioting in the streets. In 1848, people decided to go with their torches, sing a famous Danish national song, and walk to the castle. Some of the leaders went to the king and they asked him, well, wouldn't you like to resign? Would like you to be a king, so this will be a democracy made by citizens, and you will be our figure on top of the cake. The king said, okay, I'm in.
The coal people and oil people say to me, wait, the price will go up. When you have rising oil prices, you will lose the consumers because of cheap renewables. When you have low oil prices, you lose your financiers. Both is a disaster for your industry. You are in a double pitfall, and you must learn the lesson. The cooperative was able to produce electricity on an economic way, not on a way to give only subsidies and pay money because it is wonderful to protect the climate. We want to make a business with it.